Hey, what's up? Welcome back to Where Are Your Cleats with Rob and Steve. I'm Steve Redazizi. This is Rob Buzini over there. And it's been a minute since we've seen you last or talked to you last, but we've been very busy and trying to get guests and this and that and scheduling issues and blah, blah, blah. But it's just the two of us this week, just the two of us discussing basically. I don't know about you, but I've played a lot of baseball, or I have not, but
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of baseball played since we last spoke. And in my notes, every time I see at a game or an event or whatever, and I see some sort of ridiculousness, I write it down
Yeah.
in my little thing. So sometimes I look at my notepad and I say like, it'll be like umpire wearing sunglasses. And I'm like, oh, is that a bit am I doing? Or no, that's that's for the
No,
podcast
that
because
happens.
I've seen some craziness over the last couple of weeks. I've seen some I've seen great baseball played. I've seen some bad baseball played. Behavior, though, the behavior. We have played in 2 perfect game tournaments since the last time we spoke. And so, when you get into those perfect game things and you're playing travel baseball, your team, whatever the vibe of your team is, that's always set usually by the coach and the families and everyone involved. But when you enter an organization that has a sort of reputation or whatever, or there's some sort of factory or, like a baseball, like insane asylum. It's always
Yeah.
an asylum or a factory, these organizations.
But thought of
It
as
seems like the
the
vibe
elite.
is like,
Yeah.
yes, they are. And, they usually give out the speeches. I assume my son's never played for any of those teams, but the speeches of like, this isn't just for fun. We're here to, this is, we take this very seriously. We expect your kids to take it seriously too, blah, blah, blah. But what I've seen as far as the coaching, it is, I'm sure, great instruction. And when they take the time to give out, lessons and in the off season and stuff, I'm sure they take more time with the kids, but I've seen more coaches yell at 12-year-olds, mostly 11, 12, 13-year-olds in the last 2 weeks than I have ever seen in 3 years up until this point.
And when you say yell, are they instructing? Is it just frustration and they're not saying anything constructive? Is it just the coach losing his mind for no reason other than he wants to win and whatever's just happened is going to prevent him from winning?
It's from what I saw was mostly not after a play happens, it's a physical errors were more of like yelling under their breath to each other.
Right.
Mental errors were addressed right on the field.
Yeah.
Directly, like, whatever your name, like, Cabin, what are you doing there? How many times are we going to work on, like, bringing up history? How many times are you going to forget that you have to make that throw or forget you're supposed to back up that throw or whatever it was? And I'm talking like, and then they change out the fielder in the middle.
Oh,
which
yeah.
Again, I'm not saying this as like, I don't know how anyone plays for an organization like that. I'm saying just as the parents on the other side of the field, and if you're not part of an organization like that, it's jarring, dude. It is like, I just know, like, our moms on our bench, they're ready to like bring up a petition. They want to like, they're all like,
they want to call
CPS to have this kind of behavior. Yes, like we petition Perfect Game to have this behavior censored or whatever. I'm like, well, I mean, no, I'm sure you could write a letter or whatever, but it's going to fall on deaf ear. This is adults. This is adult like, this is how those parents have sanctioned it. It's not like we saw parents going over to coaches and being like, don't talk to my kid like that. Everyone just sat there and they're all complicit in it. So I'm just shocked at, like, again, I'm not as much.
Right.
I've seen a lot of this stuff. I've been, for what I do, I've seen horrible things. But I just noticed, like, the moms feel terrible. They're like, I mean, Tracy's ready to go over to other benches and be like, are you guys okay? Like, do you guys like playing for the, like, almost like you don't have to be in this situation anymore.
I did something that I don't think was maybe quite as bad, and I certainly didn't swap anybody out in the inning, but we had a play on Saturday where we had runners on first and second. A ball got hit down the right field line. We had a very good player playing right field, and he came up and he just does the thing what do we always tell the outfielders when we get the ball? Don't hold the ball.
Hit the cutoff,
get the ball in.
Yeah.
And he picked it up and he froze and he's just holding the ball like this. And I yelled, throw it in. And you know how I yell, they would throw it in, just I yell from my guts. And you could see he was not, but he's not crying or anything, but he's upset. He felt like he made a mistake. So as soon as the inning ends, I meet him at the foul line and I put my arm around him. And I say, hey, this is why we got to know what we're doing with the ball before it's hit to us. We have runners on first and second. So if that ball gets down, where are we going? And he's like, 4. Right. I'm like, you know the answer, baby. You know the answer to the test. You just got to trust yourself when you do it. And so I think sometimes it's just it's your natural. It's, when, I don't know, the last time you went to a high school basketball game, I know your older boy doesn't play basketball, but you walk into a high school gym now, and I can't tell you how many parents, when a kid gets the ball, yell, shoot it. And you're like, what? Yeah. Why are you giving advice? Just stay there. Do what you're doing. Also, that's a terrible shot. It's a 14-year-old girl and they're 7 feet behind the 3-point line. Don't shoot that. So yeah, I've caught myself. That was really the one time I was amped about something recently. And also, as you've mentioned, you've seen a lot of baseball lately. I think since our last podcast, we have probably played 10 games roughly between travel and Little League.
Yeah.
We won 6 straight in Little League, which you can't be a bad team and win 6 straight. I don't care who you're playing. And then we lost our last 2, and it's just that thing of, the wins and losses don't really matter, but you do want them to play their best. And when that somebody is not capable of more, but just they're they didn't think this through. This is something we've worked on. And I even said after the game to Jack, we got in the car and I go, I yelled at so-and-so. I go, I don't know if he's played right field all year. He's barely been in the outfield. It was just one of those games where I had a lot of bodies moving around,
people around
and in new spots, and guy who normally plays right field or left field, getting him a couple innings at second base. So maybe he's not in the exact right spot either, on a play, and he's asking for the ball. So, then I think sometimes this is maybe I'm going a little too deep on this, but I think as a coach, when you're yelling, sometimes you're yelling at yourself. I didn't prepare them for this situation properly. I didn't set them up for success, and now I'm frustrated. And so
yeah,
I think now that I know how hard I work on them being ready, I don't go as crazy as I used to, but there's still times where I'm like, oh man, I shot us in the foot on that one.
I'm not exactly sure what there has to be some sort of vibe medium mix where you're certain places probably get it right, where you're riding the edge of competitive and intense, but also we're still going to have fun, and we're not going to try to, we're not going to lose our minds over every situation. There's that fine line, and you try to, I always feel like getting as close as you possibly can to it is pretty good. Sometimes you go over the edge one way or the other where you're too loose, but trying to find, but if you're just going to hit the gas and just go nuclear on everything, I feel like then it's in one ear and out the other. And I mean, again, you get little snapshots of these, you only play one game against a team and then they go play, but almost over the course of a 3 or 4 3-day tournaments or whatever, maybe you're not playing them, but these places we play at, the fields are right. So you're playing a game over here, but I can still I go to the bathroom and I'm watching their games right there. And you can still hear the same behavior, the same. So it's not an isolated incident. It's sort of the vibe of the team or the organization. And I'm like, man, it's, I don't know. Someone's going to burn out here. Something's got to I don't know. I mean, the throttle at that level at all, to be Bobby Knight, I don't know, at all times, it's just got to be
No.
exhausting and or counterproductive.
Yeah, no, I don't think of myself as Bobby Knight. Maybe Bruce Pearl. Maybe I'm just sweating through my
Yeah.
suit and I'm the highs are high and the lows are lows. It's funny that I would say the team that we've played this year that had the craziest coach had the worst record of all the teams that we've played. I mean, like I'm telling you, Steve, I'm coaching third base and they're in the third base dugout. His team's on defense and he's damn near standing on the foul line, like talking to the pitcher, like through pitches. Like I'm trying to see to home plate and he's standing in between me and home plate because he's so out there. And I get it. Like we're all invested, but I think you even remember when we were coaching, when the kids were 8, I sat in the dugout or on the bucket. I didn't move most of the game because I tried, after the kids play, Bantam or whatever, we still have coaches in Bantam who want to stand on the field with them. And I'm like, at what point are they just going to get to play the game without you having a hand on it, like at all times?
Yeah. You never curse, right? What's your, a kid?
I said, no, I don't curse at them. I did tell 2 kids on Saturday though, because we got beat and we let younger guys pitch. I said, you guys pitched your asses off today. You pitched fantastic.
Yeah. I'm talking about like, Jesus fucking Christ.
Oh no,
Kevin,
no.
something like that.
No.
Dude, we saw that, dude.
Oh,
get your head out of your ass.
Oh,
so I'm saying to myself, dude, I'm talking, yeah, bro. I'm serious. Like I'm thinking to myself, if you said it to the umpire, you probably get kicked out.
Yeah,
but everyone's just supposed to ignore it when you say it to a kid on your team.
No, never anything like that. I know you're supposed
to say player or whatever, but kid. It's great. Like, yeah, I've seen some of that. So I guess that goes to more of what the moms were like, we should write a letter or something like that.
That's like, look, that's pretty bad. And it's 12U, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
But, all these organizations have different, they've got 9U, 10U, all the way up to whatever, 16, 17U. So I guess if they try to create a culture of intensity and we're going to win from 17U, it's got to start somewhere. But I feel like it's at 12U. I don't know. I understand the level of competition varies. And when you go to these, you pay money to go to these perfect game tournaments or whatever tournament you go to, you want to do the best you can do. But I don't know. It's almost like if you were screaming that stuff at a restaurant or any other public at a park,
you'd be asked to leave.
Someone would say something, or someone would say something to you. But just in this atmosphere, we're all supposed to just turn a blind eye.
I think that's, yeah. And I think you and I were pretty loose with it with our sons. Just, it's just the vernacular. But
yes, I'm not saying like I was like, oh my goodness, cover your ears, kids. People have heard.
But I think it's there's the difference between when it's just you and I are always trying to be funny and silly and we let it slip and fly. But I mean, certainly not with the other kids. With Jack or Jonah, I'm sure we've said stuff that we're like, this is never to be repeated. This is never to be said in front of your mother. This is blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. The intensity of just like, but to yell at a stranger's kid.
No, I couldn't imagine.
With anger, or frustration and curse. It's like, wow. It really like, I don't know. It shook our kids too a little bit.
Yeah, that's the scary part. They were
worried. They were like, man, those kids are really like this one coach during warmups. There were like 2 overthrows, and he huddled them together in the outfield. And he talked to them in the outfield, but we could hear everything he said because he was yelling at them. They were on their knee, but he was yelling at them. Mm-hmm. In the outfield, so we could all hear everything they were saying. And he's like, colleges, if you want to play, who wants to play in college? And all the kids raised their hand. That stuff is warming up like that's never going to be acceptable. You get your head out of your asses. We didn't drive all this fucking way and blah, blah, blah for this and that. You're like, whoa, this is how they set the tone for the day. And so then it goes from there all the way through the game. And like I said, our moms were like worried, but I'm wondering, I'm like, for anyone listening out there, and again, no judgment. If your kids play in an organization like that, It's more of an interest. Do you guys have talks before the season as to what is allowed, what is not allowed?
Yeah.
Is there a line that someone could cross that you would be unacceptable to you? Just hit us up with some information as to, like, I understand it's probably a great organization and instruction's great, but I want to hear the pros and the cons as to what, because that level of intensity, I could see it at certain points, if you want to play baseball down the road, but just it feels like a 12U, 11U.
I think too is I'm
I don't know. Also, it's like you're on a stage, dude. Like I said before, there's fields around here. So like when you're yelling at a 12U kid, it's not just one. Like there's a 7U game going right over there or an 8U game going over there, and you're yelling the F. It's like, it's crazy how just open these guys are, and it's a little, I don't know, it's weird to me.
I think too, when it's, I've never been, I guess high school I got a stipend, but I've never been a paid coach. Even with travel, it's always been a volunteer basis. It's always been because, other than the high school teams I've coached, Jack's been on the team. And I've sort of looked at now my expectations, and they probably were even 5 years ago. If you get a player who's like a high level player and you can tell he's very, very good, your expectations for his behavior and his performance are going to be different than the kid who's a soccer player and, or he just likes baseball and maybe he's not a very good baseball player currently, but he wants to keep practicing and he wants to keep playing and he wants to be with his friends. I've just gotten to a point where the drop fly ball or whatever, or the error doesn't affect me as much. And this is probably more my own problem when it's not my son or somebody who I've been working with, for 3 or 4 years. We got a little guy on our team who I love so much. And he has straight up said to me before an at bat when, we're facing a guy who's throwing pretty hard. He's like, "Coach, what do you do if you're afraid of the ball?" And I'm just like, or if you're afraid of getting hit. And I told him like a couple of weeks ago, I said, "Buddy, fear is natural. It's a natural thing. But right now it's just about you overcoming that fear, getting in there, doing your best. You've been working super hard." And I said, "I'm going to tell you right now, if I didn't face my fears, I never would have kissed a girl. I never would have gone to college. I never would have bought a house. There's going to be other things that scare you. So just get in there and let's see what happens. And if the worst thing that happens is you strike out, who cares?" 2 weeks later, he got hit in the back by a kid throwing so hard, dead between that it's that, like they say in Fight Club, it's like the sound of like the meat, hit pounding meat.
Oh,
just
no.
buried it in between his numbers.
Can I just guess that this kid is probably not a big kid, probably slight, and has like, no less than 1% body fat?
The smallest,
like
thinnest kid on our team. He wears a face mask, which he should. He's the cutest little kid. He will one day say, I've started this business and do you want to invest? And he can have all my money. He's just the smartest, sweetest, hardworking kid. But I went down there and I was like, he's on the ground and he's moaning and we're standing over him. And I was like, "Just breathe, buddy. Just breathe." And he probably was down there. It seems like a long time, but it was probably a minute and a half. And I go, "You know what will shake this guy to his core? If you just jump up and run to first base as hard as you can and act like it didn't even bother you at all." And he was like, okay. And he jumped up and sprinted through first base and everyone's clapping. And I was like, all right, that's the win for the day. That's all I need is that he got up, he stayed in the game, he didn't want to leave, and he just wore it. And then, comes to practice on Tuesday with a giant bruise on his back.
Yeah, he probably went home in a car. He's like, "That Coach Robb's a liar, dude. It hurt really bad.
I'm never kissing a girl.
It really hurt.
This is bullshit.
I'm never gonna go out on a limb again. Are you crazy?" Dude. It's never like the kid that needs to get hit with the ball.
No.
It's just like, we'll just wear it and go down there. It's always like the slightest, most diminutive kid that just gets blasted.
And the kid who's been saying to you for weeks, "I am afraid to get hit with the ball.
I'm really scared of this."
And so,
you're like, "Look, dude, how many guys have gotten hit this year? 4? There's 12 guys at our team. Trust me.
Play the odds.
You guys, plenty of odds." Yeah, blasted, dude.
Oh man. He's like, "I'm going to cuss at him now." Yes.
I want to get into this Hype Fire situation.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if Mark is around, if he can hear us. If you could pull up maybe just one article about like how they got banned, the Drop 5 Hype Fire,
Yeah.
the Easton Hype Fire. I know for Perfect Game it's still, and this is like a legal thing. It's not banned because Easton is still obviously fighting this in some sort of court. But it is not. It is on the what is like a not banned list. It's like I don't
Unapproved.
know. It's
Not
like in
not
purgatory.
approved. Yeah.
Not approved right now.
Yeah.
Purgatory basically is what it is. And so I don't know when you heard about it. If your players use that bat. I know for us, our first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They all have the Hype Fire. When they get
the
up,
Drop
when the
5?
pitcher's warming up. Well, they all have different sizes depending on the size of the kid.
Okay.
So, but they all have the Hype Fire, and so it looks like lightsabers when we warm up. When the pitcher, everyone's warm. The kids are getting ready to, and the pitcher's warming up. They all have the Hype Fire. 2 of our kids are bigger kids and 7th graders, so they had the Drop 5.
Yeah.
Jonah's got the Drop 8.
Okay.
And most of the kids have the Drop 8 because most of our kids in our 12U are 6th graders. They're younger.
Right.
So not big enough to swing the Drop 5. But a lot of these kids that come out, the Perfect Game teams from the city and stuff, they're big kids. They're 7th graders, and they all have Drop 5s. And they've banned it. Well, again, they've on the unapproved list, whatever it is for right now, for Perfect Game. And then the place that we play at, Lasorda Legacy, they've since, unapproved list.
Yeah.
And now our summer league, it's basically every place is now pulling action on it or taking action. I don't know. Is it the same? I assume it's the same for you guys.
So
out
because
west?
we've been so in Little League, and most of the tournaments we play are right now are like 1-day Sunday tournaments that are kind of, a team is just hosting it. I don't think it's come up with us, especially because we're a 12U team. So I think, and we're almost all 6th graders and maybe a 5th grader or 2. So we're all Drop 8s pretty much for the most part at this point. I think it might affect our 14U and 13U guys a little bit more. I'm not sure. I think Jakari might have that. So I don't know if he's been using it.
I wonder why do you think though it's just the Drop 5 and not the rest of them? I basically what I heard is that they looked at the exit velos, because they have like the exit velos for every hit on all these Perfect Game tournaments at some point.
Oh, really?
There's someone there with a gun.
Yeah.
So they said that the exit velos for the Drop 5 Hype Fires were 5 miles an hour faster on average than any other bat used in the tournaments.
I mean,
again, I don't know because I've never seen a kid like the kid doing first of all, the kid doing our Perfect Games this weekend had one eye open, 2 earbuds in, sunglasses on. He put the radar gun at one point. It was facing the bathroom. You could tell it was like 4 miles an hour for someone walking to the bathroom. I mean, this kid put us on the pay me no mind list. Like,
yeah.
Jonah had one pitch that was 78 miles an hour and one that was like 4.
Yeah.
So it was like obviously none of these and I don't see anyone being like this kid went up there with a Hype Fire. This is the bat he used. They're not taking like specific.
No.
But somewhere along the way, someone must have tipped
someone
them
correlated
off
it, yeah,
and said so. They must have taken inventory over the course of, and that was the 2 weeks ago, the Perfect Game tournament that we played in, like 2.5 weeks ago. They must have taken just an average of all the exit velos, and it's now the Drop 5 is on the restricted list. So. I don't know, because again, it's like I'm happy that if it was the one we were using, I'd be like, oh god,
yeah.
What do you do? It's like you're really only going to use it for a year or two, so it's like if you can't use it, I mean, Easton probably won't take it back for a return for full refund unless you have some sort of damage to it or something like that. So I wonder what they this is a big deal for them. I think this is a big deal for the company
For sure.
because if you get it, if at some point they find out that this bat is illegal, then I think that that's grounds for everyone to be able to return it. Correct?
I mean,
I would say, right?
I guess the question is like
a bat that I can't use.
Like for college baseball, I'm pretty sure, when they went to the BB Core era, there's conforming standards as far as weight differential and what the sweet spot can be and what sort of, barriers it has inside of it that's going to prevent it from getting too hot or whatever. I mean, I don't know. It's like when you sell a car, if the state of California said, a year from now, no car can go over 100 miles an hour, could you return the car that you paid, $50,000 for that goes 101 miles an hour? Like I don't know how they could be retroactively penalized.
I mean, I would, but you're rendering the bat useless,
right?
Because you can't, I'm not allowed to, like, I can use it in my backyard, but
right.
What good is that? I can use it, I can't use it at a Little League game. It's not a USSA, it's a USA bat. Now I can't use it in the travel games that I bought it for. So what good is this bat to me? And again, I don't know, like somebody had to, and I'm sure we're going to hear more about it, but somebody at Easton must have tipped off saying that this has got to be, someone's going to get hurt. It's got to be for safety issues, right, Rob? There's no other reason.
Yeah. Perfect Game is currently investigating the Easton Hype Fire Drop 5 for its safety and integrity, even though it is currently still certified by its manufacturer. I mean, I don't know what they're going to, what are they going to do? Pull 100 bats off the line and then just test them all and decide what's too hot and what's, meets standards?
But what I'm wondering is, like, it's been 2.5 weeks now. So is there testing going on it? Is there further, like, I would be on the assumption that Easton, or all these organizations probably wanted to ban it. And Easton's like, you cannot ban it. We will sue you if you do. You can put it under restriction, and we'll tell us what hoops we have to jump through to figure out what that's a death sentence. I feel like to them if they ban the bat. So, but what I'm wondering is what is going on right now since the time that they've and how are they tipped off to this? You know what I'm saying? Like, there's no way that everyone was just kind of sitting around at a perfect game tournament and went like, hey, those drop 5 specifically go faster than ever. Somebody must have said, like, this bat, I broke this bat down, and this bat is like not conforming to standards,
Well,
it would be like the same thing I feel like for golf. Like, if you told me, if I bought a $500 driver, Rob, and then you told me I couldn't use it to play golf, it would be the same thing.
Right.
And I'm like, I would want to return it. I think I have a right to return it.
Yeah.
Basically, what I'm getting at is, like, Jonah's very worried now because he's like, I want to just play baseball and not worry that my bat, I won't be able to use it tomorrow or the day after. Like, I want to be able to just find a bat that's not going to cause me a problem.
Right.
And he also thinks, like, am I cheating?
No.
He's like, am I not? Because he's like, is this bat, like, if this bat's illegal, he wants to know because A, he doesn't want to use it, and B, he wants to find a different bat. And so I think he thinks like, oh, the drop 5's been banned, restricted, whatever. It's only a matter of time before my bat comes along. I don't think that's coming. In his mind, he's like, oh. And so it's just a weird thing because I'm like, it was the bat that everyone sort of gravitated to in the fall last year. I saw everyone using it.
Yeah.
Towards the end of the summer and the fall. And then all winter, everyone went out, Christmas, birthdays, they all bought it. They've all been using it. And, it is a pretty crazy, it does have a lot of pop on it. I've seen, smaller kids make half swings and put it,
put in the outfield.
Outfielders in the gap. So it does have pop. But I mean, I think that's every once in a while, like there was a couple years ago, there was like an Easton Carrot. It was like an orange bat.
Oh, yeah.
And it had like more pop than every other bat and all the kids.
Yeah.
The Mako, yes. And so it was like that had more. Now, again, I think that's an Easton thing as well. Maybe it's a situation where these other bat companies are like, hey, man, there's no way that this company is making a bat specific 5%, 10% better than the rest of us.
Right.
You like Callaway, Titleist, Cleveland, all the golf companies, they all poach and pull the engineers from each other, but it's all incestual. They all go from one place to another.
Right.
And when you make a new driver or a new club, you're going to try to make it 1%. If you can make it 1% or 0.5% better than the last version or what your competitor, that's humongous.
Right.
If you're getting 25 yards more than everyone else with this one specific club, people are going to wonder. And you do it every other couple years where you just happen to get into the situation where you're just made the best. I think the flags went up, and that's what happened. Because I don't know how else this could have come to be and been such a nationwide, restriction across the board.
I mean, I'm curious too if there wasn't some situation at like a big tournament where somebody got a line drive hit right back at them. There was a scary situation or an injury. And the truth is, like you were saying, you've got some bigger 7th graders playing 12U, and then you got some little 6th graders. And there's a big disparity. And I mean, man, I was watching highlights from a 13U tournament. ZT National was playing, I think, RBI Elite. And you're right. And probably out of 18 guys, 14 of them were using Hype Fires. And then when you take a guy from being, I don't know what Jonah weighs. I think Jack's about 90 pounds right now in 6th grade. The difference between him and then a kid who's gone through, who started puberty and is now 5'7" and 130 pounds.
155 pounds.
Yeah, swinging that. It's, and I'm sure there's people who are like, hey, when Bryce Harper was 12, he was 6'1". So, you get some big kids really fast, and it gets scary from that. Because, Jack plays with the kids in his grade, and just like Jonah does. Yeah. So next year, is he going to play 13U and still not had a growth spurt? And, I don't want him pitching to those guys. Like, to me, that the risk is not worth the reward in that situation.
I honestly, when I got the email that it was restricted, I literally was like, God, I'm going to turn the news on and I'm going to see that, God forbid, some kid got killed or something this weekend. Because that's what I thought. I'm like, they're not going to restrict it or ban it based on just safety right away. But I bet you somebody probably a whistleblower is like, someone's going to get hurt. So I made this bat. This bat is illegal. And I'm telling you, before a kid gets killed or hurt, I would like, something done on the down low.
Oh, so what are you reading there? Mark's sending us a note. It looks like a kid got hurt in Houston at a tournament, and he's also got the Bat Bros bat review page pulled up. Hype Fire dropped 5. Can you read that?
I can't see it.
Yeah, Hype Fire dropped 5, absolutely shattered previous exit velo record of 116 with multiple hits of 120 miles an hour plus. Now, I'm sure that's somebody testing it who's a full grown adult. But
yeah,
but
still, dude,
they're putting this bat in teenagers' hands. Yeah, this is probably the single hottest bat in the history of USSSA, but it's also one of the more fragile bats out there. That's the other thing too, is they break.
Yeah, they break. Again, I don't mind if you made a legal bat and it just made it better than everyone else, then I take my hat off to you, and we'll do the best we can. My son uses it, and he pitches against a lot of kids that use it. So I'm always like, keeping my fingers crossed that God can get everything. But if this thing's illegal, and I just feel like it's going to be a big problem for Easton, because not only you're going to have, everyone's going to return that bat. And I'm telling you, you can't, at a travel situation here, you can't, everyone has it. Out of 12, 11 kids on a team, there's at least 7 Hype Fires.
Oh, yeah.
Every single team.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone. So, I can't imagine economically what it would be like for them if everybody returned.
If they had to, take them all back and give the money back, yeah.
And God forbid somebody was to get hurt or seriously or
really
killed,
hurt. Yeah.
The amount of litigation and damages that would be brought their way if you put something illegal out there, think about it. Plus the kid hitting the ball, he doesn't, it's like, it's a no win for anyone. I don't know. I was wondering basically, like, if you heard anything and what you think the process is going to be like, because I have no idea, and I would like to know, because it doesn't really 100% affect me right now, but it does in a sense of like, if this thing's, if it can't just be the drop 5, it has to be multiple versions. There's no way they made different. And so
I just think the 10 and the 8, it's not going to
that,
matter, because they're going to say the kids are small, the kids aren't strong enough to really do damage with it. It's just that they crossed a threshold where
at 12U.
Yeah, and especially because do you guys throw from 50 feet for 12U?
51, yeah.
Yeah, and then so I don't know about 13. You go back to 60, right?
13 years baseball.
Yeah.
Which I'm like, great.
So
I think you have to swing a drop 3 then.
Oh, when you go to the 60 for 13U.
Yeah. You got to drop. Which I'm like, God, we better get a growth spurt.
I know.
I can't imagine Jonah swinging a drop 3.
No.
I would feel like a tree in his hand.
I don't think
know.
I swung a drop 3 until I was 14. I might have been in high school.
Yeah. Yeah, no, 13U is drop 3.
I don't think we have to go to drop 3 here. I'll have to check it out. I could
be wrong. Again, I'm learning, so.
And it's different. It's different everywhere. Yeah, for sure. Right? DM us and tell us if we're
just let us
ignorant.
Know. Idiots.
Speaking of big hits though, and big bats, do you want to talk about this weekend's tournament?
With Jonah?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, the story starts two and a half weeks ago, because, and again, I want to preface this by saying, like, I'm going to use a specific name here, and it's not because I'm going to 100% always try, and sometimes they slip out. I'm knocking on wood. I don't ever want to mention kids' names by name.
Yes,
because this is not about bashing or bringing out or like anything specific. This is not about that at all.
We only do it if they're ours.
My son.
Yeah.
But this is a story that involves a celebrity and a big time person in my life. So therefore, the name is sort of important.
And this is positive. This is not negative or demeaning in any way.
Absolutely. Until the end, I'll tell you, and then I screwed up at the end. But anyway, so 3 weeks ago, we're playing a perfect game tournament, and we're playing against this team, Grind Time. They're from New Jersey, and third baseman on the team is Jalen Jeter Martin. It's Derek Jeter's nephew, and Derek Jeter's sisters and her and his father they're parents of Jalen. So they are always at these events, and once in a while, Derek Jeter's parents come, Mr. and Mrs. Jeter. So this was a weekend we were playing that team, and the parents were there. So it was, no one really gets excited. No one really kind of knows, to be honest with you,
except for you.
But they are a team that does the introductions.
Yeah.
So it's like, and everyone kind of hears Jeter and you go, oh, but his parents are still recognizable to me. And I feel like a lot of New Yorkers,
absolutely,
no matter what, you saw them in pictures, you saw them at the game, and you saw all over
in the context of a baseball game, I would recognize them. And yes, I'm a baseball fan, but I'm not a Yankee fan. Yeah.
Yep. So they're at the game, and we're doing the thing where it's at the end of the game and we're crossing paths. It was a great game. And actually, we weren't playing them. They were playing the game before us. We were just coming on the next game. So they were packing up their stuff. We're coming in. And I'm talking to Tracy and one of the parents on our team. And this woman taps Tracy on the shoulder. And she turns around. She goes, "Oh, you don't know me, but I really like your bag." Now, Tracy had a tote bag that said, "Read banned books." And the woman that said it was Derek Jeter's mom. And I think she's an advocate and a teacher. So I could tell it's right up her alley.
Yeah.
She likes to, stir the pot a little bit. So Tracy goes, "Oh, thank you." And I, of course, turned around and I was like, "Oh, I'm like, oh, we do know who you are." I'm like, "We do." And I'm like, I was always like Step Brothers when he's like,
hello.
The interview when he says, "Oh, hello."
Hello, Miss Lady.
Like, we do. And it totally, she was like, "Okay, great." And she turned around and walked away. So Tracy was like, "Wow, that was kind of crazy." I was like, "Yeah." I'm like, "You know who that was?" "Oh, yeah, no, Derek Jeter's mom." So we're on the car ride home and we're telling Jonah the story. And Jonah is like, "Wow, that's nuts." He's like, he's like, "Man, mom," he's like, if she likes you, then like Derek Jeter might have liked you too if he wasn't married. And then we threw out the question. We were like, "Yeah, imagine she told Derek Jeter about like if he wasn't married, like, hey, I met this great woman." And then like mom was like, wow. And I'm like, "Jonah, if you had to decide between me or Derek Jeter as your dad, like, what would you choose? And he was like, wait, oh, I think I choose you. And I was like, really? He's like, I
You
think
barely won.
I go, dude, but the way he was like, oh, I never thought in my life that this would have to be a situation.
He was literally like,
oh,
should I be honest or give the right answer?
no, dude, he was so cute because you could tell he wore his disappointment. That he knew he had to give the answer he had to give, but everything in him was like, oh, I'm trading you in a second. So anyway, cut to. Tracy tells me, she goes, oh, I did something stupid. I don't know if I did. She goes, I went and I saw that bag and I bought another one. In case we run into them again, I want to give it to Mrs. Jeter. I go, oh, great idea.
That is such a Tracy thing to do, too. Preemptively buy a gift just in case.
You never know.
Yeah.
So this weekend, we're playing another Perfect Game tournament. They're at the tournament again. And we ended up in the consolation. We went 1-1 in pool play, and we ended up in the consolation game on Sunday against them. And Jonah was pitching. So, and she brought the bag, but his parents weren't there. Just, the Derek Jeter's the grandparents weren't there. Just Jalen's parents. So we're playing the game, and Jonah's having a really great game. He's pitching, and we're through 5 innings, and shutout baseball. We're winning 4-0. No, sorry, we're winning 5-0. And then we get to the bottom of the 6th inning. First guy grounds out. Second guy, Jonah hits. Third guy walks. Then the next is a pop fly that, one of those should have been caught, didn't get caught.
Tweener, yeah.
Essentially, now we're bases loaded. And Jalen Jeter comes up, and Jonah goes 2-0 on him, and then just hangs an inside fastball. He thought he got it inside enough. 59 miles an hour, and Jalen just turned on it and pulled it right down the line, and it went over the fence. Grand slam.
Yeah.
And it was like the excitement on their side and the dejection on our side. We were just like, oof. It was like you're just going along, paddling, and all of a sudden we just hit a wall. Boom.
Yeah.
And they're going crazy. It's one of those situations, the air pulls out of the room. The next batter's an error. He's on base. He steals second, and he ends up getting next guy's singles. It's 5-5, and we end up tying the game. So I haven't seen when I did something I don't normally do. Which, by the way, the whole game I sat down near the home plate where there's there's rows of chairs for the parents and stuff, and it's covered, very close. But I always go down to the end, especially when Jonah pitches, so I can mumble and say things to myself. But things were going so smoothly, and my father-in-law was there, and I was talking to him, that I was like, hey, no need to keep going. But in the 6th inning, even after the grand slam, I still sat there, and then there was like a play that should have been caught, and I was like, I got to get out of here. I got to go run down there. So I run down and we ended up tying it. I could just see Jonah just at the end of the game, like the last out. He just pulls his cap down and slowly walks off the field. And I walked down to Tracy, and I was like, God, like so many mistakes in the inning and blah, blah, blah. She goes, you drive home, I'll take him home. And I was like, okay. So I drive home, and I got to vent to myself.
Yeah.
Like, just get everything out. Right? Because if him and I are in the car, it'll end up, we'll end up yelling and quitting the team together. I'd be like, I'll drive you right now to Vegas, and we'll go join Bryce Harper's team. We're two crazy people can't be together.
Fatalists, like one end of the spectrum or the other. Yeah.
Yes. Tracy's like, you go that way, he goes this way.
Yeah.
So we get it out, and I get home. They're not home yet. I'm like, I text Tracy. She goes, I took him to get a wiffle ball bat. He was very sad. She goes, I haven't seen him that sad since we lost in the Monarchs.
Yeah.
And she's like, it wasn't the home run. It was just like, the everything was going so smoothly and blah, blah, blah. So we come back to our house, and Sunday we were having a family dinner for Jonah's birthday. It happened to be his birthday last week.
Oh,
so
man.
Everybody's over.
It's kind of a tough.
So it's almost like you're going from that big switch of like, God, I just blew everything. And then, hey, happy birthday. So he's putting it on and smiles. So I'm sitting there, and I'm, everyone kind of asked about what happened. I'm like, But I'm on my phone at one point, and I follow Derek Jeter's sister because she runs his foundation. So and and all of a sudden I'm like, oh no, I see. She's like, Jalen's first home run, and it was a grand slam, and it's the video of it, and it's got like 400,000 likes. Right now, of course, no names, no nothing, no one knows anyone. But in my mind, I'm like, oh God, I'm like, and stupid. The dumbest thing a parent can do. I have no idea. Like in my mind, I'm like, what? He was sitting right there. I go, Jonah, look at this. I go, 400,000. And he laughed, thank goodness. Tracy was like, you idiot.
Yeah.
And as I did it, I was like, for some reason, in my mind, I was like, I thought we would both just laugh about it.
Yeah.
And we did, but it was like, oh, he probably laughed because he was like, I'm embarrassed. I was like, what are you, an idiot? And I went to go, Derek Jeter wrote on the, I'm like, in some way, in my mind, I was like, oh, Derek Jeter saw you play baseball. That's what I'm trying to explain to you. Never mind forgetting that it was like, oh, and it happened to be probably one of the worst moments of your baseball career. So, but again, that night we were cleaning up after the party. I go, dude, I don't know what happened to me today, but I had a brain fart. I should never have shown you that. That was so stupid.
Yeah.
Why would I? He goes, Dad, it's all right. So yeah, he goes, not the first grand slam. He goes, first grand slam I've ever given up. It was not the last one, hopefully. But he goes, I'll tell you this. He goes, I bet you Derek Jeter is probably talking about me right now. Doesn't know me, but he's probably telling, like, if Jalen's telling us, like, I'm part of baseball history lore in the Jeter family.
Jeter family, yeah.
He's like, because we'll see each other again, and like, I'll tell him, oh, you gave you the, so he's like, what? And I was like, damn, dude, you made the best out of something without, like, because he's, it's a tough thing when you're so competitive and you want to do well. He's gotten very hard on himself at certain times, and I saw him do this thing where he was like, I'll switch it. Now that could have been because he was 4 for 7 had a great weekend at the plate. He is a little like, he's like, I was 3 outs away from being like the number 1 or 2 pitcher in this whole weekend in the perfect game tournament. And I was like, can't think about it like that. He's like, yeah, I know, I get it. But he's like, it's tough when you get that far. I go, yeah, this is how life is, and this is how baseball is. But, we did everything else we could. And now we've let it go. I'm like, but don't follow Derek Jeter's sister on Instagram because that video is very popular. It's going around a lot. So I'm like, as long as it's not on SportsCenter, I just didn't want to hear like, and in touching news, the apples don't fall far from the.
I know. And the
that
truth
was my
is,
only concern.
5 1/3 of shutout before that. Like that's baseball, man.
Yep. So that's baseball. So
I was gonna,
but I did tell Tracy, I go, you're not giving them that bag. I don't care what. I mean, we're friends, but enough's enough now. Like, enough.
Yeah,
we've given enough. We gave 4 runs. That's enough. So
give her the bag, take a picture of it, and call the state police.
It was tough.
I was gonna share with you though. We had an interesting thing on Thursday night where we were playing a team. It's just a little league game, and a situation occurred in the first inning, where we throw a wild pitch. Runners on first and second, nobody out. We throw a wild pitch. Runners take off. The batter steps way out of the batter's box, like 6-8 feet, and right in between the catcher and the third baseman. So the catcher has to throw over the top of him, but it impeded his ability to throw the runner out. So I call time and I go and talk to the umpire, and I've known this umpire probably for 5 years now, and I'm like, that's interference. He's like, no, it's a short backstop, so he couldn't get out of the way more. I said, backstop's got nothing to do with it. Batter can't leave the box and get in the way of the catcher trying to make a play on the runner. That's batter interference, the batter's out. And he just told me that's not the rule. And I was like, 1,000% that's the rule. And it actually came up later in the game. We give up a couple runs. We're ahead in the game. And here's where I made a misstep, where I miscalculated my ability to be honest with this guy. It happened again. I went up to him again and I was like, the batter can have the box, but he cannot step out and get in the way of the catcher's throw. That's batter interference. And he's like, no, he can. He has to get out of the way. I said, only on a play at the plate because he can't impede the catcher's ability to make a play. So me being me, I walk out there to warm up the pitcher the next inning, and I said, 6.061C. And he said, what's that?
Oh, no, that's the code.
I said, that's the code in the Little League rule book.
Bryce.
Well, I am not exaggerating when I told you the strike zone got about this big. And he just would not call a strike for us. We end up losing. We had a couple plays we should have made, but we had 2 outs and the lead. And he's just refusing to call strikes now. And we give up like 5 runs, and Jack comes off the field and he rips off his mask, and I can just see that they're coming. And I'm like, what's wrong? And he's like, they're strike. I'm not moving my glove. They're strikes. Like, I don't know what's happening. They're strikes. And I go, I'll tell you what's happening. I happened. First of all, I handled it poorly, but we go down 3 strike. First guy strikes out. Second guy strikes out. So we're down to our last out, down 5. Yeah, down 5. And I look over the dugout, and Jack has his hands on the fence, and he is going to rip chain link. He's so frustrated. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, he just goes,
Whoa, Jack, really?
Yeah. And I was like, dude. And he's gathering, but he's just, what happened was his sense of right and wrong had been so offended. And it wasn't that we were going to lose. He was so upset for his pitchers, and he couldn't understand how an umpire would do that to kids, because he was just so certain they were strikes. And between you and me, I trust Jack more than the umpire to make these calls. And so we're like the last 2 people to leave the field, and he's trying to hold it back, but the tears are coming and he's frustrated. And this is 15, 20 minutes after the game. And I finally sat down on the bucket and I grabbed him by the shoulders and I said, buddy, everything you've ever wanted in your life is still in front of you. Everything you want to do is ahead of you. And sometimes when adults don't have that in their life anymore, they want to control situations in any way they can. And that's what happened tonight. This guy just made a decision that he wasn't going to let me get one over on him. And that's the way it broke for us. And I'm sorry, but if it's not this guy, in 3 or 4 years when you're in high school, it's going to be another guy. This is just the way it goes. There's always obstacles, and you got to overcome it. And I think he was probably thinking, I'm 11. Like, let's go home.
Yeah.
And then,
yeah, I'm good.
Yeah. And the next morning I was like, how you doing? He's like, great. I'm going to get a bar. I was like,
that's it. Brilliant. Yeah. That's it.
Yeah.
Roll it off. We got another game tonight, more games, 1,000 games to go. So, but it's just, it's these lessons that happen in the sport of baseball and all sports, and in life. And, you try to do everything you can to avoid them, but they're unavoidable.
Yeah.
They happen.
And
you're going to be disappointed. You're going to be great. And then you're going to be terrible 1 second later. And that's how it's going to work.
And then you just got to forget about it and move on.
No one's impervious to that.
And then I think that's why.
Speaking of umpires.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I think that's why Saturday too, I was like, it was such an emotional letdown for everybody that I kind of moved a bunch of guys around, and I had guys who hadn't gotten a chance to pitch that. And I was like, it was too bad that it got a little bit stressful during that game, because I was like, let's play. You're going to play this position. Jack hadn't played shortstop all year. Our normal shortstop was out of town. The other shortstop has been wanting to catch more. I put him at catcher. I put Jack at short. He played fine. Like he made plays, we just got beat, but I was like, yeah, I kind of forgot that we're just supposed to be out here having fun and trying different things and doing different things.
I read an article in, I think it was the Atlantic, this is in like little league school bowl arena. You know those City Connect jerseys they've been doing in major
Absolutely,
leagues and
yeah.
stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, so they're popular and stuff, and people are like, they're outlandish, and some of them are cool and some of them are too crazy, but what's the point?
Right.
And this article is basically like, the point is to sell more jerseys, but how can we make it, you want a city connect, you want to connect with a city, why don't you, and this is the art, like, pick a little league, pick a school,
Oh,
a
yeah.
local public school, and what you do is, you get major league jerseys made of their jersey. The Altadena, Central Altadena, what Aaron Judge would be like represent the Central Altadena All Stars.
Right,
and the
right.
Yankees would have, or the Dodgers would do that. Or you do a local school, PS 105 or George Washington High School. And the article was just saying, like, how much, think about it. First of all, connecting with the city, there's no better way to connect with a city than to pick a school.
Absolutely.
You can do a competition where, you have some sort of schools get together and they, literacy content, whatever it is, some sort of beneficial contest,
right,
or even little league beneficial contest. And then when Aaron Judge wears a George Washington High School, jersey with the number 99 on it, and all those people buy it, the money goes to the school and things like that. And I was like, what great idea for baseball. That was something I heard. I was like, this is a this is like, I don't see a flaw in this at all. Well, this is perfect.
So for instance,
it's a great way to connect it.
Yeah. For us here, Jackie Robinson went to John Muir High School, which, has a great tradition and, been around in Pasadena forever. And I mean, could you imagine if the Dodgers wore on Jackie Robinson Day, John Muir High School 42 jerseys?
Yeah.
I mean, that would be
insane.
Yeah.
And the money went to, Pasadena public schools or whatever it is.
Yeah.
It's a win-win for everyone. I read that and I go, oh, this is something I definitely want to share.
That is a great idea.
I think it's a great idea.
There's so many bad ideas in sports right now. It's nice to support a good idea.
The other one I heard, speaking of umpires, was relegating the bottom whatever percentage of major league umpires every year.
Yeah. Yeah, I heard that one too. I saw Ken Rosenthal's interview in which he said, if MLB could fire Angel Hernandez and CB Buckner right now, they would. There's just not a way to do it.
I mean, I guess they have tenure, right? Is there some?
There's a union.
Sort of tenure.
Yeah, they have a union. I mean, it's pretty hard to force guys out of that union, I think.
Yes, I think that these guys probably, if they were smart, the umpires would read the writing on the wall and they go, yes, we will accept relegating, because if you don't, I think, and you dig in, your job's going to be a computer job. You're going to have AI take over your job in the next 10 years.
I guess
you might want to think about, cutting off the weakest of the weak right now, because there are some great umpires that make, almost 85, 90% of the calls correct.
Yeah.
And that, I have no problem with human error when it's that, but not when it's
I think
Angel Hernandez.
The players would probably say, as long as you're being consistent too. If you're a ball off on the outside corner for both teams and that's what you're calling, and we see that and it's consistent, great. But if we're having to guess and we're, there's been some examples this year of, balls just that everyone's going to go back to that Wyatt Langford at bat with Angel Hernandez in Houston, where it's just, three baseballs off again and again and again, and the guy has no chance. But I think every major league player, professional player would say, as long as I know where the zone is, as long as it's consistent for pitchers and hitters.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, pitching has gotten so good, especially at that level, that it's like, I would not want to have to deal with human error when a 99 mile an hour moving ball's coming at, and I'm supposed to, it's like, I have little room for human error at that point.
I think too.
I mean, you know what I'm saying? It's like, I think people with the cameras and the views and the boxes now, it's like the guy at home knows more about what is a strike and what isn't than the guy behind the plate. And it's getting to the point where I think that you have to kind of go, all right, we have to do something. It can't just be a thing where we can't ever criticize the umpires or ever. And if you do find out because they get grades. If you
Yeah.
do find out that, like, hey, 2 weeks ago, Angel Hernandez got an F.
Yeah.
An F. Do you understand? Like, he got 40% of the calls wrong. It's an F. Like, that should be on ESPN. Like, Angel
Yeah.
Hernandez records lowest score by umpire. Like, that it would, if Aaron Judge struck out 8 times in one baseball game for some reason, if he got 8 at bats in a game, which is unbelievable,
Yeah.
and struck out all, that would be headline news.
Right.
Everybody would hear about it. So you should hear about great disasters on both sides of the ball.
I think to your point, too, about pitching being better than ever. I mean, we went to a high school playoff game last week here. Jack and I drove out to Simi Valley to watch the team I used to coach the JVs for, and that was 10 years ago. So I don't know any of these kids, but the team is very good, and they play in a very competitive league, and they were playing a smaller school, and they run out this high school junior who is throwing 90 miles an hour. Now, I know there's guys in the big leagues who throw 100, but 90 miles an hour, the pitch is at the plate in under 0.4 of a second. Can you imagine being a part-time umpire who's doing high school baseball? You're probably getting some good pitchers here and there, some guys who throw stuff, but all of a sudden you roll up to a playoff game in the Simi Valley and a 16 or 17-year-old kid is throwing 90 miles an hour in the CIF playoffs, and you're expected to be consistent and see that accurately and call it accurately for 7 innings in a really high stakes environment. I mean, like, the MLB umpires work year round on that. High school umpires usually have another job. They're not able to train for that kind of stuff year round.
I know. And that's why I'm saying, like, I would not mind if they had a situation where, almost like in golf, the Corn Ferry and Premier League soccer, where it's like the bottom 10% of the PGA gets relegated down, and you got to go back to the Corn Ferry Tour, and the top guys in the Corn Ferry Tour, they get to go up.
Yeah.
I feel like that's what it should be. I mean, I don't know how minor league umpires would, if that's how the system they use, where they call them up from the minor leagues or whatever. But it should, there has to be some sort of system in play, because I feel like those guys are going to they're going to lose their jobs completely if they don't figure out how to, I don't know, it can't be, a blue shield where it's like, we don't talk about what blue does.
Right.
Umpires police themselves. They get grades and they talk about it themselves, but like, that should be more transparent. There should be much more transparency.
I'm curious to see if
the game has got
the pitcher hitter challenge, if it makes it to the major leagues in the next couple of years. I'm curious to see how that changes things. Yeah. Because
now at least you get, you think about it, 2 or 3 times a game, I point up and you're wrong.
Yeah.
You're going to be embarrassed.
But at least it does what everyone wanted replay to do, which is get the call right. And it's like the thing in tennis where you can see where the serve landed robotically with the challenge and stuff. I mean, if it helps and if it corrects call, I mean, that's going to happen too. And then a lot of times guys are going to strike out on the next pitch anyway. It's, but there are times where the guy's going to get a new life in his at bat and he's going to end up making something out of it. And so, I think that's all anybody wants is for it to be right. But I kind of, maybe I'm too much of a purist. I really don't want it to be just robot umpires out there.
No, not at all places, but definitely the strike zone, dude. I don't know. I just feel like if they can, I go to the airport and I go into this thing where there's no one that works there. I just walk in, I pick up like a water and a thing, and I walk out, and it charges my phone is charged. Like, it knows what I picked up. It's charged the right amount. I talked to no one. I spoke to no one. I touched only the items I bought, and I left. And they knew what it was. If they can figure that out, we can do it. Like, they got the strike zone already, dude. If they could see me trying to sneak a Hershey's bar into my pants and still charge me for it, I think we can figure out how Aaron Judge strike zone's a little different than Altuve's. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, we drove out. Avery had a basketball tournament in Orange County, and we drove out there on Sunday. It was just she and I. And we don't have a fast track, but we had to take a toll road to like get there on time. And it says you can pay your toll fee within 5 days. And I'm like, all right, I'll just go online afterwards and pay it. And Avery goes, how do they know? And I was like, I think there's like cameras, and then they like take a picture of your, like, I was just grasping at straws. I was pulling it out of thin. I knew nothing about it, but I was like, I wonder if it's just the honor system, and they're praying that you're gonna go on there and pay for it.
No, I when I go through those, sometimes I get those red light cameras. I'll flip them off, because if I see the thing go, I go, this is gonna be close. So here we go.
Yeah.
I always want to see a picture of myself with giving the camera the finger.
I thought you were just trying to block your face so you could say it's not me, it's a valet. Someone took my car.
Definitely me every time. I think people did write in questions for the umpires.
Yeah. We have some. We'll have those next time.
Yeah, so we will figure out when schedules work out, because I get so many questions to talk to about umpiring. So, this was fun.
This is awesome, buddy. It was good to catch up.
Get to vent a little bit and let it out. We got more games, and then we'll do another one next week. We have a perfect game tournament in 2 weeks against more killers. So
yeah, we got the playoffs coming up a week from. Our first playoff game Saturday up there at the old park up there on the hill, and so
we still have a month of Little League left.
Yeah, and then we go into All Stars. So I think we're playing
like a month behind you.
Yeah.
You guys are almost done with school, right?
We got according to my kids, there's 18 days left. 18 school days. Sick. 18 school days. We got 4 weeks.
Yeah. Right around Memorial Day, it's over then, right?
Middle school graduation's May 31st.
Bingo,
That's
dude.
Sick. I know. I'm sick.
Awesome.
Brother, I love you.
All right, buddy. I love you too. Have a great weekend coaching. Thank you for listening. Rate, subscribe, tell someone while you're sitting around a game this weekend. Hey, I heard this good podcast about baseball. They bitch about the same stuff we talk about. Let everyone know. Let the masses know.
Shout out to Mark Acom, Petty Cash Studios, Brian Keegan for the theme music, and Jason Trapp for the logo.
Yes, thank you very much for everyone who helps out on the podcast. And we'll talk to you guys real soon.